My sister-in-law basically said, I don't care about my children. Guys, and then she comes back later on and you will not believe what stunt she tries to pull, all for some inheritance money. Life has been a roller coaster ride ever since my brother died. Hi, my name is Imagine. I'm 28. I was named after my father's friend. I did not get to meet her because she died when I was just a little baby. My father told me that she was full of dreams, even at her old age, and she had imaginary businesses, houses, cars. But little did they know that she was secretly working her butt off to make it all possible. She became very successful, and no one could believe it was because they thought she was insane. She would always say, "The easiest way to kill a dream is when it's still an infant." So, she portrayed her dreams as imaginary things just to confuse the enemy. How ironic, I know, right? Well, getting back to the introduction, I live with my niece and two nephews. They are all my brother's children, and their story is a sentimental one. Let me give you a little portion of it. 6.5 years ago, my brother Roman died. He died in his sleep. No one could really tell what happened to him, and the autopsy reported stated that he died from natural causes. But none of us are ignorant or mindless. My brother died at the age of 40, while my grandma died at the age of 90 from diabetes. The point I'm trying to make is that I think there's more to my brother's death. Although it's crossed my mind so many times, I've not really settled to find the real truth behind his death. I mean, I just can't break into the hospital to collect proof, especially that he's already buried. He was buried 3 days after his death. It was really upsetting. His wife, 37 female, prepared it all without even asking suggestions from his family. She did not grant us time to pay our last regards. Dad was upset about what she's done, and it triggered his heart. He had a heart attack 2 months later and died. He kept blaming himself for being silent, which gave Mary Ann authorization to bury Roman in just 3 days. The tragedy of Roman's and father's death hurt us all, but it was mostly an arrow shot towards Roman's children. Their deaths are still painful in our hearts, but it was and still is the most throbbing to the children. They've had to suffer so much, and when their father died, Star was just a few months old. Mary Ann did not seem so distressed about the husband's death at all, and it was disturbing for the boys because she could not even comfort them as a mother. The kids had to start missing school because their mom said it would be a good idea if they stayed home and mourned their father's death for at least another 6 months. That was punishment for the children. She was making things hard for the kids. On the day of my father's funeral, Mary Ann repudiated the kids' rights to attend their grandfather's funeral. It was straining, to say the least, on the kids. I tried to convince her to allow the children to attend, but it was of no use. She did not seem to care about what was happening to her husband and his family. It was creating a big gap between her children and our family. 2 weeks after Dad was buried, Mary Ann left the children alone in the house. No one had an idea that she was gone, because we did not have a good relationship after Roman died. I guess our relationship was only hanging on to Roman, so I hardly went to their house after he passed. A week and a half later, Mark showed up at my doorstep. I was shocked to see him. He looked pale, like he hadn't eaten in days. He also looked like he'd not slept in a month. He started crying after I opened the door, and I didn't know what to do. I slowly pulled him inside and softly asked him what was bothering him. He then started explaining to me. I couldn't believe my ears. The kids have been living alone for a week and a half in the house. They've been surviving on cereal only because none of them knew how to cook. Mark had to starve himself to save food for his siblings. The poor children had to suffer alone in the house because their mother abandoned them. I could not move into their house because I thought that Mary Ann would come back and chase me out. All I did was go there every day to cook for the children. They'd stopped going to school because they could not afford to pay for a cab. I was touched by their situation. I was still in college and I had to drop out because my brother used to pay my tuition fees, and after he died, I couldn't afford to pay for myself. I had to leave school and look for a job. Looking for a job without any qualifications was the hardest part of my journey. Well, I later found a job and I was able to afford their monthly cab. I took them to school, bought them food. Although I was employed, the money I was making was not enough for all our needs. I moved in with them and we started selling some things in the house online. I was forced to enroll the kids in public school and remove them from the private schools as it was simply too expensive. Star was not happy leaving her friends behind. She was scared of going to a new school, but we had no other choice. 3 years later, the heavens heard my cry and I found a sponsor for my studies. I was then able to complete my studies and found a good job. At the moment, I wished my namesake was alive to see how I was doing. Her story gives me hope. By the time I found a good job, the house was almost empty. We'd sold everything except for the things that we really needed. I was not even scared anymore if Mary Ann came back to sue me for selling her belongings, because I only did it for the children. I could care less about her fancy chandeliers and expensive Titanic jewelry. Life has never been the same ever since I got a real job that pays me good. Mark's now in his 3rd year in college, and he has a part-time job. He meets me halfway with the expenses, and I'm proud of the man that he's become. Hosey and Star are still in school, and I must say that they're doing exceptionally well. We help each other get through the emotional hard times as a family, and the children have never been happier. I'm glad I could bring back their smiles. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So this story's a pretty emotional one. However, everybody thought that it was over with. There was not another update for a whole year. 362 days to be exact. I hope you guys are enjoying the story so far. If you are, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Let's see what's going on with the kid's life 1 year later. It's been a year since my last post. A shocking thing has happened 3 months ago. Can you believe? Mary Ann's back. Who would have thought, right? Ever since she came back, she's not rested a bit. She wants to disturb my peace to the core. As I write this, I'm now living in an apartment, as she kicked me out of the house. The funny part is that her children refused to stay with her under the same roof, so they moved in with me. She's come to see me so many times at work, home, and everywhere else, even the grocery store, harassing, threatening me for apparently taking her children away. I think she fell and hit her head hard because, as far as I remember, I saved those children, while she ran away to who knows what. She had the intrepidity to show up to me and say that I took her children away from her. What a joke. She should know that I have not refused the kids from going back home to her. It was her act of selfishness that drew the kids away. The kids are afraid to go back home because she might just leave them alone again like she did before. It would only hurt them even more, and they had to go through a lot just to get where they are today. And I would not want them to wear the same garments. The garments of nothing but pain, sorrow, and agony. They deserve much more than what life threw at them. Mary Ann seems to be very devastated that her children don't want to be around her. Star's completely forgotten who her mother is, as Mark removed all the family portraits from the walls years ago. He wanted to forget about what his mother had made him go through, and I truly understand him. Mary Ann has no clue whatsoever. The kids went through so much, and it's understandable why Mark did it. Hosey, on the other hand, keeps blaming his mother for my brother's death. He says that she stressed him to death, and I wouldn't be surprised if that turned out to be a big old truth, because Mary Ann is an absolute vile creature. She acted all nice and all wifey material when all she was doing was planning to get something for herself out of the marriage. She doesn't even care about the children. The days to come, y'all be hearing a lot about the court, because my sister-in-law is suing me for selling stuff from her house. I know that she's doing only this because of pure jealousy. Her children don't want to see her, and now she wants to create the same feeling in the kids against me. These children have become my own, and I will not give up on them with some excuse of a mother. I know that there's a specific reason as to why she suddenly came back. Last night, I could not hold in my tears. I wondered why Roman had to leave me with so much trouble. I have to deal with his departure and still have so much going on. How strong does he think I am? Mark walked towards me and sat beside me. Seeing him changed my mood very quickly. At that point, I knew that these kids have become my happy place, and it's my duty to love and protect them. I've not found a lawyer yet, but our case is to be presented in court in like a week. I'm still looking around to see if I can find one. I'm not as scared though, but I am paranoid of Mary Ann's childish behaviors. Does she think I would sell her stupid furniture for self-pleasure? I had to sell her things to correct her foolish blunder. She clearly has no brains. What kind of mother would abandon her children and show up years later and pretend like she loves them? Even though my brother's left us, he's now in a better place. Far from his witch of a wife. Well, I just remembered. I have a friend, 40 years of old, who's a lawyer. It completely slipped my mind that he was even trying to become a lawyer, and I've not checked up on him in a while. Neither did I see his online review, but I bet he's a very good lawyer based on his personality. I'll contact him first thing tomorrow and ask him to take on my case. I'll not allow Mary Ann to have the last laugh. I think it's going to be an awkward conversation with Santiago, though. I haven't seen her talk to him in like 5 years. But I'll do anything for my munchkins. Well, I have to go now, because I still have to search for Santiago's phone number. It's going to be a long day. Update number 2, 9 months later. I have to tell you, not to sound excited, but it is both good and bad news to me. Let's start with the fact that Roman left the children millions. Yeah, guess what? They only got access because Mark's turned 21 years old. The money was delayed with a year because of the bank issues. But as we speak, Mark has received full access now to the funds. The good part is that the children will never suffer again. All their school fees will be covered once off, and they'll still have plenty to share and make the best out of life. The bad part is that they waited for Mark to turn 21. We suffered for years trying to survive when there was always an account just full of money. That could have made life oh so much easier for us. I'm not angry at Roman for doing what he did. I guess he has a good reason, only he knows why he did it. I guess we'll never know. I'm just glad that I don't ever have to see the children in the same situation again. Now it makes so much more sense why Mary Ann came back. She came back because she knew that Mark was grown and he would get the money. She actually came here to manipulate the kids to steal their cash. I knew there was something fishy about her return, and I was right this whole time. She's been around our apartment lately, and I'm not sure if she's watching us or if she really misses her babies, as she says she does. I don't believe a thing that comes from her mouth, and she tries to manipulate people into her lies. I know she's planning something. I know that she's willing to go to any extent just to get the children's money. About Santiago. He accepted to take up my case free of charge. Can you believe it? It was a very difficult conversation to start. What kind of friend would call you 5 years later because they want you to save their butt? If he hung up on me, I would have been mad at him, but deep down, I would have understood. Because that would mean that I'm a bad friend. I first had to fight with his personal assistant to get me through to him. He sounded thrilled to hear from me again. I blushed when he said that. I really don't know how I felt. I felt like he was actually flirting with me, but I know he was just being kind. I have a thing of always misinterpreting the signals. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm lonely and I need someone in my life. Ever since Roman passed away, all I've thought about is Star, Josie, and Mark. I had no thought for love, and now that life is turning around, I am no longer concerned about the children that much. I'm noticing the void in me that needs to be filled. Oh well. We'll get to that some other time. I have to go now. Miss me not, for I'll be back soon. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. Well, OP was actually not back soon. It took an entire year since the last update, and guys, there's a lot that went down. Here it is. Sorry, I know it's been a year since my last update. Well, technically a year and a half. Things have gone down since then a lot, and I'm under so much pressure. Our case is still not over, and I never knew that one could become famous in such a short period of time. New information keeps coming up, and the case keeps getting postponed for the more info. The court's failing to find one of us guilty, but I have to come to learn to quite a lot of things that Marianne has done in the past, and now I highly doubt that my brother really died from natural causes. In my opinion, she definitely killed my brother. There's no way that he would just wake up dead when he always had checkups with his doctor. I've learned a painful truth about my namesake. Before Image died, she added me to her will as one of her children. I never received the portion of my money. Do you want to know why? Well, I hired a private investigator to find out anything fishy with Mary. He did some digging here and there, and he also found someone to hack some accounts. That's when he found the transfer of a large amount of money some 15 years ago. I really didn't care about the money, but I wanted to know what business she was involved in, as she was just a wine taster and traveler, and there's no way that the money was her monthly salary. The worst part is that the money was transferred from my dad's account. I had to go back to Dad's house to go through his documents, and shockingly, I saw a copy of Imagine's will and all the bank documents. I added 2 and 2 together, and boom, bada bing, bada boom, it all made sense. The money I received from my namesake was used behind my back for other people's benefits. It was a bombshell on me. How could Roman do that to me? My brother would never do that to me. Apart from the bank documents, there was a note that Dad wrote, and it read this: I don't know how long I have. The fear of death is consuming me, as my friend's Imagine has already passed away. When Imagine turns 21, give her this money and guide her to make good decisions as a good big brother that you are. I knew that the note was meant for Roman, but why did Dad keep the note? Could he already sense that my brother would keep my money? Or was it that he knew Marianne will demand to keep my money and enjoy it for herself? Roman was the humblest man I knew, but I guess I was mistaken. Santiago had to present our findings in court to get them to rule in my favor, and as far as I'm concerned, we are winning. I presented myself in a humble way. I had to be as convincing as possible if I wanted to win against Mary. The case has grown bigger, and she has not only sued me, but she's also fighting for the custody of Josie and Star. She couldn't include Mark, as he's already 21 years of age, and he now identifies as an adult. My detective has also found out that Marianne's living a double life. Well, I needed concrete proof before presenting that to the court, but we're getting there. She has no shame at all, and can you believe she has a 17-year-old daughter from her other marriage abroad? Like I said, crap's going down, and we're uncovering truth day by day. I still wonder how she was able to pull it off for so many years, without my brother even knowing or even being suspicious about something. My brother was living in a lie, and I feel sorry for him that he could not find out the truth before he passed. Or maybe he did, and that's why she killed him. It would also make sense if it was like that. Anyways, my detective is still digging stuff up. He's found the physical address of Marianne's family. The other family. He'll be going abroad to question the husband. I hope he'll come back with proof against her so we can take her down once and for all. I'll be preparing for my victory dance. I don't know how to tell the kids that their mother's living a double life. It would actually shatter them. It'll bring more hatred for their mother, but heck, she deserves it. How could she do this to her children? What kind of mother is she? I fear that Mark might even do something that he's going to regret. I hope that the day this comes out, the kids will not be in court. They'll also be furious with me for keeping such a secret from them. But I cannot tell them now without solid proof. I have to carry this burden until the detective finally confirms it. This is not going to end well at all, but whose fault is it? Mary's played us all, and we would not be at fault if we failed to control our rage. She probably even used my money to sponsor her second family vacations. What did she even tell her husband? She used her job as an excuse to spend time with a different family and a different man. Come to think of it, she probably never even had a job. She just lied to everyone so that she can run into the arms of another man and spoil some of another child, apart from her 3 children here. Well, anyways. Later, folks, I have a lot going on in my mind right now. I might not update for some time. Sometime indeed. It's been 6 months now, and nobody's seen an update from OP. Until one fateful day, just after 6 months, OP drops this bombshell of an update. Well, everything has come to light. It was a very long journey, but it's worth it. I finally got to find the reason behind my brother's death. I knew I was right the whole time. There was no way that I could keep doubting myself the reason he died. Well, let's rewind real quick to 5 months ago, when the detective went to see Mary Ann's husband and he tried to run away. The detective had to use a little bit of force just to get him to talk. He already knew that his wife was married to someone else. It was actually their plan to steal money from Roman. What kind of people are we living with on this earth? This world's now messed up to the extent that you can no longer trust even your family members. The man was so scared that he spilled the whole truth. He even confessed about Mary's next move. She wanted to steal the money that was meant for Mark, and that's why she came back after disappearing 7 whole years ago. Apart from that, he confessed about my brother's death. Mary Ann poisoned Roman when he found out that she was seeing someone else. He wanted to divorce her and leave her with nothing, but that witch was blinded by greed. She realized that the only way for her to get the money from my brother is by poisoning him and bribing the doctor to lie to us all. But unfortunately for her, Roman had removed her from the will, and she was not getting any penny from him. She was furious, but that's why she decided to leave the kids unattended. She needed the time away from people who reminded her about what her husband did to her. She knew that Mark would get access to the inheritance money as he turned 21, so she kept track of time to come back and steal from the kids. Bad luck always. She found Mark and the rest of us wise and stepped in front of her. This is why she took me to court, because she wanted to get me out of her way. Now that I know what she's capable of, I'll never allow her close to my nieces and nephews, no matter how old they get. Mary Ann had no clue that I was on to her. She was not ready for what was coming her way. She took me for a duckling, that she'd had no idea how strong I can become when I'm protecting those that I love. Santiago told the judge that we found a new witness who would be giving a statement against Mary Ann. She smiled because she had no idea who it was. But when the witness went up front, her jaws dropped in shock. It was her petty husband who had came to give a statement in my favor. He confessed to everything that they planned with Mary Ann, including Roman's death. Everyone was shocked how it all twisted from her being an ordinary mother to a husband killer. Mary Ann's face was not at peace. She was looking tense and unsettled. And at that point, I knew that I hit her with where it hurt. And I knew that victory was about to be mine. I could finally rest that I've avenged Roman's death, and the children will now be able to have peace without that two-faced jerk. All the 3 children started hating their mother so much. I could not even stop them from insulting their mother. Even Star, who was just a baby bird with no feathers, stood up for herself and her brothers. It was such a scene. That is exactly what I was trying to avoid, and I did not want them to find out like that. I wanted to sit down with them and discuss it over a cup of coffee or dinner. They erupted, and not even the judge could stop them from saying what they wanted to say to their mother. For the first time, I saw Mary Ann crying real tears. She was hurt by what her children were saying to her. She realized that she unleashed the beast in her children, and I was happy that they were not mad at me, but they were very disappointed in Mary Ann. She and her husband were taken into police custody and charged with first-degree murder and theft. I feel really bad for Star, Josie, and Mark, and they had to go through all that in such a life at such a very young age. But I guess it is life after all, and there's nothing we can do to change our fate. All we can do is try to live with it without it breaking us to pieces. These kids are strong. They endured everything without anyone's help, and I know that they've learned and grown from their problems. Those moments will come back to them and teach them to be the best parents and good people as well. I'm so grateful to Santiago. He stood by me all the way. He did not mind that I had not checked up on him for like 5 years. He was just glad that I thought of him to rescue me. He made it seem like I was going to die without him, LOL. He was growing kind of a big head, but honestly, I'm truly thankful for him. I would not have come this far without him, and I had to leave him the best review possible because he saved me big time. And I do owe him a lot. He was willing to do everything for free, and all he said was this: "That's what friends are for, the kind of people we need in the world." I know I'm praising him so much. That's because he asked me on a date. I know he's older than me. Oh well, I need this. I think it's really going to be good for me. Alright guys, so we have one final update, but it's a unique one, because everybody thought the story ended there. Well, it didn't. 3 years after the entirety of that saga, OP logs back into the account after remembering the password to give us a life update. If you enjoyed this saga story, guys, smash that subscribe button, and let's jump into today's final update. It's been 3 years since my last update. This is going to be the shortest update because I only want to update you about my love life. As I write this, I am on a honeymoon. I got married with Santiago. My college friends asked me if I was sure about marrying him because of the gap of age, but age doesn't matter when love is pure. They even started making fun of me, but I didn't take it to heart. I really can't explain how I ended up falling so deeply for him, but I know that he's a good man, and he'll make me very happy. Star and Josie have also completed school, and they are living life. They've stopped calling me aunt and started calling me mom. They cannot thank me enough for what I've done for their lives. They make me so emotional when they bring up that topic, but I have no choice but to be strong, as those moments have become scars in our life, and we'll never have forgotten them no matter how hard we try. Santiago's willing to give me time to get over my trust issues, because after I learned the truth about who Mary Ann really was, I lost trust to everyone. I almost pushed him away as I cannot allow myself to feel open or vulnerable or even trust anyone. I was and still am scared of getting hurt. I really want to give my heart, but at the same time, I'm scared of getting my heart broken. I don't want my brother's history to repeat itself through me again. The man I've married is a wonderful person. He cares about me and loves me, even with my insecurities, perks and all. Mark has also met a lovely girl. She's a very nice person, and he recently proposed to her. My trust issues have gotten me overprotective, though. I just wish that they could wait longer for them to get to know each other better before they get married. Fear has overwhelmed me, and sometimes I fear that it might affect my marriage in a negative way. I can't afford to lose the love of my life because of some trust issues. I still work on myself and become the best wife in Santiago as I possibly can be. Maybe Mark is in the right hands. I'm just being delusional. I can't allow my trust to ruin the child's relationships any longer. I want to see my children blossom. They deserve all the goodness that comes into this world, for they have suffered so much, and they've learned a lot of things that have packaged with life, and served as one. This is all from my side, friends. I'm grateful that you never stopped reading my story. It was helpful as I could open up my heart and tell someone about myself. I guess you could say it was therapeutic, and I'm grateful once again. Thank you. Okay, so there's mixed reviews in the comment section, guys. Half the people were saying, this story's fabricated, this story's fake. Then a whole nother half were saying, no, I've heard about stories like this before, and I've actually seen articles of this story. It turns out I couldn't personally find any information on this story directly related to it, but there was a lot of comments saying, hey, poisoning is not really that out of the question for somebody like this. Guys, let me know though, what do you think? Do you think this story was a big old fat phony, Or do you think that quite possibly this lady was this toxic and vile, and not only was she money hungry, but she was a murderer? Drop your comments down below, guys. Let's talk about this story, and have an amazing day. I'll be here tomorrow dropping more stories, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you later.